What if I told you that the most important World Chess Championship in history is remembered mostly for its toilets? Yes, you heard that right. Toilets. It's the 2006 World Chess Championship, the most prestigious tournament in all of chess, where two champions are set to battle it out on the board. How it unfolds is a fascinating saga of mind games, cheating accusations, the KGB, and restrooms and toilets. How could we get here from knights and pawns? Let's dive into this most bizarre scandal that would forever be known as Toiletgate. Welcome to Agilov. The tensions that defined this match really started 13 years earlier. So let's set the scene. The World Chess Championship is the ultimate goal that every professional chess player aspires to. It has a rich history spanning almost 150 years. Winning it puts your name in the history books, basically forever. These matches are organized by the governing body of chess, FIDE. So there is this continuous lineage of world champions. And apart from a few exceptions, each one won the title by beating the previous champion in a match. And you can trace this lineage of champions until you get to the year 1993. The then world champion is probably a name you're familiar with, Garry Kimovich Kasparov. He's considered by many to be the greatest chess player ever. At this point, his legend was still developing. He'd been world champion for about 8 years, and he was set to defend the title against the British Grandmaster Nigel Short. But there were a few issues. Kasparov really did not like FIDE. 8 years prior, the FIDE president had taken a controversial decision to prematurely end the world championship between Kasparov and Karpov, just when the momentum seemed to be on Kasparov's side. This is a wild story for another day, but suffice to say that since then, relations between FIDE and Kasparov had been strained. But it's like they were stuck in this unhappy marriage because FIDE needed Kasparov because he was world champion, and Kasparov needed FIDE because they organized the world championships. In 1993, Kasparov had an opportunity to change that dynamic because his challenger, Nigel Short, was not a big fan of FIDE either. So they decided that they would not play the World Championship organized by FIDE, and they produced a pamphlet explaining their reasons. Basically that FIDE was corrupt, FIDE made decisions without consulting the players, and the cut of the prize fund that FIDE was taking was too big. But the author was so funny that Kasparov had to publish a whole pamphlet to explain this. Today, people just do a Twitter post. In the 90s, you had to publish a whole pamphlet. So they established their own organization, the Professional Chess Association, or PCA, secured their funding and played the World Championship without FIDE, which Kasparov won rather easily. But FIDE wasn't going down without a fight. They also organized their own World Championship tournaments and crowned their own world champions, or FIDE champions as they are more popularly known. But the thing is, since Kasparov was so clearly the best player in the world, people didn't really consider the champions that came out of the FIDE champions as legitimate world champions. And so the chess world had to go through this rough period where there were two different people claiming to have the title of world champion. And this was a bad situation for everyone. It was bad for the fans, it was bad for FIDE. Imagine they would have to go to a sponsor to get money to organize a world championship, right? And they go up and they say, hey, you want some money to organize a world championship? And then the sponsor says, interesting, who's playing? And then FIDE has to mention two names that don't include Garry Kasparov, right? And the sponsor goes, hang on, so the world champion was this guy called Kasparov. And FIDE has to go, well, kind of, but also maybe no. You see how it's not a great situation for anyone. Now, there were many attempts in the 90s to try and get Kasparov to play a match against the FIDE champion so that they can unify the title and get one world champion. But all those attempts failed, probably because, again, these two really did not like each other. So it was a stroke of luck for FIDE when in 2000 Kasparov played his next world championship match against the Russian Vladimir Kramnik, and surprisingly, Kasparov lost. Kramnik showed up with an ultra solid opening as black. Kasparov tried and tried, but he couldn't break it down. And so Kramnik didn't lose a single game. He won 2 other games, and so he won the match.
So he designed a strategy, a great strategy, to drag me from the territories where I felt most comfortable into the territories where I felt shaky. The match was a disaster for me. In 15 games, I couldn't win a single one, and lost 2. And I lost the match to Kramnik. I was out-prepared.
Defeated the GOAT, and now he was the legitimate world champion in the eyes of the fans. Remember that FIDE also have their own world champions during this period. And now Kasparov was no longer the classical champion, so FIDE had someone they can negotiate with who didn't hate their guts to try and unify the title. There are many more adventures that we'll get into someday. In 2005, FIDE proposed a solution. It invited 8 top players, including Kasparov and Kramnik, to play a tournament, and the winner would be declared the undisputed world chess champion. Kasparov said no. In fact, at this point, he had just recently retired from professional chess and he didn't want to come. Kramnik also said no, but he wanted them to play the tournament first, and then when someone wins, he plays the winner in a match to decide the undisputed champion. FIDE agreed and replaced those two with 2 other players, and they played the tournament. But one player was head and shoulders above the rest. 31-year-old Bulgarian Grandmaster Veselin Topalov. He basically ran away with the tournament. He won 6 out of 7 games in the first half and cruised to victory in the second half. It wasn't even close. So he was crowned a FIDE champion. And eventually he agreed to play Kramnik in a reunification match in 2006 to decide the one undisputed world chess champion. And that is how come Vladimir Kramnik played Veselin Topalov in 2006 for the world chess championship title. Tensions were sky high. It was going to be a close match. I mean, we are talking world number 1 versus world number 3, both 31 in their prime, going for a $1 million purse. But also because of the craziness of the past decade, there was a lot riding on this match, not just for the players, but also for FIDE, right? Finally, after 13 years of confusion and just a hot mess, the simple question, who is the world chess champion, was about to be answered. But absolutely nothing that had come before prepared the chess world for the craziness that was about to follow. The 12-game match started in earnest in Elista, Russia, Kramnik's home country, and this will be important later. All the tension was translated onto the chessboard. Now, usually high-profile matches like this start out with the players starting to feel each other out in the first few rounds, right? Like in a boxing match. So usually the first few rounds tend to be relatively calm, but not this time. Players started throwing punches right from the off. Not literal punches, I hope that's obvious. It was fighting chess right from the start. When it started really well, Kramnik. He had a worse position in the first game, but he managed to turn it around and win, and carry the momentum over into game 2, which he won as well. In a short 12-game match, winning the first 2 games is huge, and he consolidated that lead by drawing the next 2 games. Going into the first rest day, with a third of the match already played, Kramnik was in a comfortable 2-game lead and would hope to cruise to victory. But then, all hell broke loose. It all started with a press release by Topalov's manager, Silvio Danilov. Now, before we read the press release, let's do a quick recap of what the playing area looked like.
At the start of the competition, you have your bathroom, I have my bathroom, and when I'm white, I have this bathroom. And when I'm black, I'm going to get the other bathroom that's close to being black, right? So I don't have to walk across you. So we all had our separate bathrooms, and we went back and forth.
And this was Topalov's team's complaint. Ladies and gentlemen, a careful study of the video recordings from the restrooms done by the technical experts of the Bulgarian team revealed the following facts. 1. After each move, Mr. Kramnik immediately heads to the restroom and from it directly to the bathroom. During every game, he visited the relaxation room 25 times on average, and the bathroom more than 50 times. The bathroom is the only place without video surveillance. Unlike Kramnik, Topalov visited the restroom and bathroom just 8 and 4 times. Yes, he is actually saying that Kramnik is visiting the toilet too many times. There are no cameras there, because of course they're not. That would be weird. So they're suggesting that Kramnik might be cheating, checking the computer for the best moves when he goes there. Now this might already seem ridiculous to you, but he's not done. We'd like to once again remind you that the bathroom is the only place without video or audio surveillance. In our opinion, these facts are quite strange, if not suspicious. The logical question arises. How many times during a game does a player need to go to the bathroom? And with what regularity? The logical answer is between 5 to 10 times at the most. Sorry, I can't read this with a straight face. But not 50 as the statistics from the games played so far shows. And these were their demands. Stop the use of the restrooms and the adjacent bathrooms for both players. If the player needs to go to the bathroom, he can use the public bathroom, but only with the permission from the arbiter and accompanied by an assistant arbiter. And this right here was the critical part. Should this extremely serious problem remain unsolved by 10 o'clock tomorrow, we would seriously reconsider the participation of world champion Veselin Topalov in this match. They were threatening to withdraw from the match if their demands were not met. So they wanted no more private restrooms. The players would both use one common restroom, and the players would have to be accompanied to the toilet by an arbiter. Now, in any chess tournament, there's a group of 3 people called the appeals committee. And whenever a player has a complaint, they sit on it, discuss it, review the evidence, and come up with a final decision. So the appeals committee for this tournament reviewed the tapes from the rounds. Though Topalov's demands seem slightly ridiculous, the appeals committee kind of gives in to him. Remember, this match is extremely important to FIDE. They need a world champion. They cannot afford for Topalov to drop out. This was their statement. They noted that Topalov's team had exaggerated the number of times Kramnik had visited the toilet, but they said that it was still unusually high. So this was their decision. They kept the restrooms open. Remember, there's video surveillance there, so no need to close them down. But they decided to close down the players' private toilets and open a new single toilet that both players would use. Kramnik was pissed. And understandably so. I mean, his right to use the loo was basically being policed. And it seemed this protest from Topalov's team was conveniently timed. So this guy, Topalov's manager, Danilov, has a slightly dubious reputation in the chess world. This is not the first or the last controversy he's involved in. And so many people are of the opinion that he intentionally raised this protest just to get under Kramnik's skin. Remember, Kramnik was doing very well in the match at this point.
Yeah, it was an infuriating charge with absolutely no evidence. But it did what Sylvia wanted, which was just threw up the match into chaos. And it got people angry. It got Vladimir very angry because now his pride, his dignity,
And his reputation.
and his reputation was being accosted.
And if that was the point, then it definitely worked. Kramnik was very unhappy and he made it known. He wrote an open letter to the FIDE president in which he said that the decision of the appeals committee violated the contract they signed before the match, which said that the players would have their own restroom and toilet. He explained that he enters the bathroom a lot because he likes to walk, so he uses the space there, and that he drinks a lot of water during the games. By the way, can we take a second just to appreciate what's going on here? It's the freaking World Championship, maybe the most important World Championship ever. And in the middle of it, a player is having to write a letter to the FIDE president explaining why he uses the toilet so many times. I mean, that's why this scandal remains so fascinating. It was so high profile, but also just so dumb. He also revealed that this wasn't the first protest from Topalov. In fact, there had been 2 others in the previous week, all basically requesting for more security measures. So they had everything done from having the restroom and toilets checked by representatives of each team to having local police check them out. And Kramnik wasn't happy that basically every single protest by Topalov was accepted by the appeals committee. He felt they were biased and requested that the entire 3-man team be replaced. He also wanted their previous decision reversed, since he felt insulted and felt his privacy was being violated. And then he made the same threat that Topalov had used to get his way, that he would not continue playing the match if his demands weren't met. And he meant it. This letter went out the morning the 5th round was supposed to be played, and when it was time to start the round, Kramnik was nowhere to be found. Kramnik didn't show up to the board. He forfeited the game. He's 2 games up at the World Championship, and he forfeited the game. By the way, when I was researching this, I found one source that claimed that Kramnik actually was in the playing area for this game, but he headed into the toilet in protest instead of sit at the board. Now, I'm pretty sure this didn't happen because it was just that one source. No one else mentioned that anything like this happened. But it was just so funny to think about, right? Like Kramnik strolls into the playing area, looks at the board, goes like, nope, it's straight into the toilet and stays there for a whole hour waiting to forfeit. Again, I'm pretty sure it didn't happen, but just a funny thing to think about. He was really not going to continue the match if they didn't accept his demands. And so FIDE had another difficult decision to make, and this time went straight to the top. The FIDE president himself flew into Leicester and postponed the next round so that they would have time to figure things out. He met with Kramnik and Topalov to discuss everything that had happened and come to some sort of agreement that would allow the match to continue. And finally, they did. They announced that the match would continue the next day with the original restroom and toilet arrangement, so each player would have their private space again, and all the members of the appeals committee were indeed replaced. So Kramnik seemed to have gotten his demands granted. But on the other hand, the game that Kramnik forfeited would stand, and so the match would continue from the game 6. So Topalov wasn't happy because Kramnik had his own toilet once again, and Kramnik also wasn't happy because he had wanted the game that he forfeited to be cancelled so that they would replay it, but he couldn't get his way. And now with everyone equally unhappy, the match could finally continue. The toilet debate was settled, but there was still a lot of drama left and a lot of chess to play. So in the next few days, the match resumed on the board, but Danilov's attacks continued off the board. He made another press release alleging that Kramnik's moves matched closely the top moves of a chess engine back then, suggesting that Kramnik was using the computer's assistants. Kramnik had his supporters as well. It was clear to the majority of professional chess players that Topalov's team's accusations were unfair and lacked any evidence at all, and they made it known. There were many letters of support written by various grandmasters, international masters, and former world champions, even a 15-year-old Magnus Carlsen, expressing support for Kramnik. Now, you might not agree with Danilov's tactics, but they kind of worked. The match started to turn. After 2 draws following the match resuming, Topalov won game 8, tying the match with just 4 games to go. And then in game 9, he won once again. All of a sudden, Kramnik was on the back foot, down a game with just 3 games to finish the match. It looked like Topalov might actually come out victorious, but Kramnik wasted no time. He came back immediately and won game 10, tying the match up once again with just 2 games to go. Both games were drawn, and so the match went to tie breaks, where they would play 4 games of rapid chess to decide everything. First of the 4 games was drawn. Kramnik won the second to take the lead. Topalov won the third to tie things up, so the last and final deciding game was won by Kramnik. He had done it. One of the most high-stakes matches ever played, Vladimir Kramnik had come out victorious, and he was crowned undisputed world chess champion, the first one since 1993. The match had ended, but the tensions between these two never did. Their relationship was never repaired. You know, every chess game starts and ends with a respectful handshake. But since this match, Topalov and Kramnik have never shaken hands again, not even once, although they've played more than 10 times. Topalov maintains that he's sure Kramnik cheated, although he will never admit it. He added that his team received threats from the KGB, were in fear for their lives. Remember, they played the match in Russia. They found a network cable in the ceiling of Kramnik's bathroom. Although the picture released showed a cable that you might find in almost any ceiling if you go looking. Look, we might never know everything that actually happened during that match in the Lister. But one thing is for certain, that it's gone down as the most high-profile scandal that chess has ever seen.
Do you want to make peace with him?
No,
Will you shake his hand tomorrow?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, I just don't respect him as a person.
Click on this video for more amazing stories from the chess world. Don't forget to subscribe.